Sophie Cunningham gets a hard foul, going up for a layup. Everybody has seen it at this point from Chicago's DiJonai Carrington. Stephanie White, after the game, didn't stand up for Sophie, but rather said she had no problem with the hard foul. Carrington then goes to Threads and posts white privilege with an @ to the Indiana Fever. Yet another contentious moment that now feels like it can't even just be about the game. It's about race.
What's going on in the WNBA? DiJonai Carrington levels Sophie Cunningham with a forearm to the neck, gets ejected, yet her coach barely acknowledges it. Tyler Marsh calls it a play on the ball. After the flagrant, the shove, and the white privilege post, fans are furious. Accountability or protection? Stick around. Let's break down the hit, the silence, and what it really says about the league. You won't believe how quiet the coaching staff stayed.
Outside for folks, fans, to read something into a foul happening with Sophie Cunningham, just the way that she's been in the headlines lately. Did you get a sense that there was any extra emotion, anything like that coming into this game from your players? Did you guys have any internal conversations about that heading into this game?
No, we're fighting for our lives to try to make the playoffs. So DiJonai's a passionate player, just like most of our players on our team.
Chicago Sky and Indiana Fever squared off in a game that should have been about basketball, but somehow turned into another chapter of the league's ongoing circus. And right in the middle of it stood DiJonai Carrington delivering a forearm across Sophie Cunningham's neck and face on a fast break layup attempt that left absolutely no room for debate about what just happened.
WNBA star Sophie Cunningham, already at the center of a fight over transgender participation, took a flagrant foul from an opposing player who was ejected from the game. Our Jan Crawford is following the story.
Here's Cunningham up ahead of the field.
It was a hard foul as the Indiana Fever's Sophie Cunningham went in for a layup. She took a hit across the face and neck that led to an immediate ejection for the Chicago Sky's DiJonai Carrington.
Cunningham was out in transition with a clear path to the basket when Carrington closed from behind. And instead of contesting the ball, she wrapped her entire arm around the opponent's neck area, sending Cunningham crashing to the floor in a way that looked far more like a street fight move than anything taught in a basketball clinic.
Absolute wind up and smack in the face. She gets kicked out of the game, rightfully so, then goes on Threads and she posts this. Oh yes, she calls it white privilege. Now keep in mind, the woman who did the assault and battery literally got kicked out of the game because she did a technical foul too. You can't do somebody in the face like that without getting kicked out of the game. That could have been any player, but she said white privilege because Cunningham.
Officials reviewed the play, upgraded it to a flagrant 2, and ejected Carrington on the spot, which felt like the absolute bare minimum given how blatant the contact was and how little chance she ever had of affecting the shot cleanly.
Hard foul. I don't think that DiJonai intentionally came out to get her across the neck like she did. But it did happen, and I thought it was the right call. But you know, one of the things about Nay is that she's going to play her butt off, man. She's going to compete. Nobody's going to go walking in for a layup, and so I don't oppose the hard foul. But I also don't think that she intentionally went for the neck.
Yet, when Sky coach Tyler Marsh faced the media afterward, he somehow managed to claim he thought Carrington was making a play on the ball and that he did not believe the music contact warranted a flagrant 2. Adding that he had not even looked at the replay since the moment it occurred. That statement alone should have raised every eyebrow in the building because anyone with functioning eyes could see Carrington was nowhere near the basketball when her arm found Cunningham's neck. She was never going to block the shot, alter the trajectory, or do anything productive with the ball itself. The only thing she altered was Cunningham's ability to stay upright without getting clotheslined in the process. Calling that a basketball play requires a level of creative storytelling that most novelists would envy, and Marsh delivered it with a straight face as if the rest of us had simply imagined the entire sequence.
This game individually, we didn't come into this one with any more or less juice than we've had the last 4 since the All-Star break. Like our mindset is trying to win games as a player and as a coaching staff, and so that's where it was at going into this game, and that's where it'll be moving forward. You hope that Sophie's okay and that nobody's severely injured, but at the same time, it's not don't think there is ill intent on our end.
The conversation shifted to Carrington's social media activity in the immediate aftermath, where she posted the phrase white privilege while tagging the Indiana Fever. And Marsha's response was that he was only just then hearing about it and would handle the matter later. At that point, a reasonable person might start wondering what music exactly this coach has managed to observe during the entire evening. He missed the flagrant nature of the foul in real time, skipped the replay, and somehow remained blissfully unaware of a public social media post that half the internet had already screenshotted and circulated. The pattern suggests either the most selective vision in professional sports or a deliberate effort to avoid acknowledging anything that might force him to address the obvious. Sophie Cunningham herself left little doubt about her view of the incident. Officials even declined to penalize her reaction because they considered it proportional to the severity of the contact she had just absorbed. Meanwhile, the coach on the other side continued to frame the entire episode as routine physical basketball, which only deepened the sense that accountability was being treated as optional.
Say that this is black privilege, to be totally honest with you, because her posting this white racist comment right after assaulting Sophie Cunningham on the court is actually black privilege, because she knows the WNBA won't do a single thing of significance about it. And imagine if the roles were reversed. If Sophie made a comment similar to this, then she'd likely never play again. And actually, we just saw this from Coach Sandy Brondello. She got disciplined for making, I believe, a pretty innocent, maybe, offhand comment about talking about Angel Reese and saying that she's a protected species. She was
Flagrant 2 was not some overreaction by the referees. It was the floor of appropriate discipline for a play that involved wrapping an arm around a player's neck from behind while that player was in a vulnerable position midair. Carrington's history of physical play makes the decision even clearer. The league has seen enough of these moments to recognize when contact moves past aggressive defense and into territory that endangers another athlete. Pretending otherwise requires ignoring both the video evidence and the basic rules of the game. Marsha's insistence that it looked like a play on the ball in the moment only works if one deliberately ignores the fact that the ball was already well out of reach and the only target available was Cunningham's upper body. The white privilege post added can least afford right now. For a coach to stand at the podium and say he is only learning about it after the fact stretches credibility past the breaking point. Modern professional sports organizations monitor social media in real time. Staff members track player accounts. The idea that the head coach remained completely in the dark until a reporter informed him borders on the comical.
I think the flagrant 2 on DiJonai Carrington was totally and completely fair. Again, I'll go back to the pool report, and the officials said the criteria for a flagrant foul penalty 2 was met since the contact was deemed unnecessary and excessive to a player in a vulnerable position. I would agree with all of those things. There was a wind-up. Sophie Cunningham was jumping up and was in a vulnerable position. So take all bias out of it. Take race out of it. Just looking at the basketball.
What makes the entire episode especially rich is how predictable the defensive posture became. Instead of simply saying the officials got the call right and the player needs to clean up her approach, the response defaulted to minimization and selective blindness. Cunningham was the one who absorbed the hit, got up, and still had to listen to explanations that treated her experience as somehow exaggerated. The narrative that somehow this was just hard-nosed basketball ignores every available angle of the video that shows the league continues to market itself as a product built on skill, athleticism, and competitive integrity. Yet moments like this keep forcing conversations about whether the on-court standards match the marketing language. When a player can deliver that kind of contact, get ejected, post a loaded social media message, and still have her coach publicly doubt the severity of the foul and claim ignorance of the post, it sends a message that the rules are flexible depending on who is involved. Fans notice, viewers notice, the selective memory on display becomes part of the story whether anyone in the organization wants it to or not.
News right now coming out of the DiJonai Carrington situation. That's what I was up here reading while she was talking. DiJonai Carrington has just dropped a tweet moments ago, and in this tweet she pretty much sounds like she's trying to backtrack her comments. So DiJonai Carrington about an hour ago said, "I've never once claimed that the assessment of the foul was white privilege. That was your assumption. Try exercising your critical thinking skills."
Marsha's comments also invite comparison to how similar plays have been handled in the past. When other players have delivered comparable contact, the language from coaches has often been far more direct about the need for better decision-making. Here, the language stayed soft and full of caveats about not having seen the replay or the post. That difference in tone is difficult to ignore. It creates the impression that protecting the player from criticism matters more than protecting the integrity of the competition or the safety of the opponent. Cunningham has taken her share of hard fouls and has delivered a few of her own. But even she drew a distinction between physical play and what happened on that particular possession. The claim that Carrington was simply competing hard collapses under the weight of the visual evidence. Competing hard involves verticality, timing, and an actual attempt to affect the basketball. The controversy only appeared when the post-game comments began rewriting the play into something far more benign than the video showed.
This is why I tell you all the damn time, it's hard for me to respect a lot of the people that cover this league, because they're all true colors always come out. And I'd rather err on the side of caution. Like, nah, you might say one nice thing, but nah, I kind of have a feeling of who you are, really. Oh wow, you said a nice article. Nah, I'm gonna refrain from giving you too much praise, because I have a feeling this is the type of person that you are.
Then there is the social media angle that Marsh insisted he had not yet seen. In an era when every professional team employs digital staff and every coach receives updates on player activity, the idea of complete ignorance feels performative. The post was public, tagged the opposing organization, and appeared shortly after the ejection. Claiming to learn about it only when a reporter mentions it is the kind of convenient timing that comedy writers dream about. It allows the coach to avoid taking a clear stance in the moment while promising to address it later, which is the organizational equivalent of kicking the can down the road and hoping the news cycle moves on. Sophie Cunningham's reaction after the game, the careful phrasing coming from the other sideline. That contrast is what keeps the story alive longer than the final score. The minimum nature of the flagrant 2 punishment becomes clearer when considering how little deterrent effect these calls sometimes carry. Players who repeatedly test the boundaries of physicality learn quickly whether the league will meet those tests with consistent standards. When coaches publicly downplay the severity, the message received in the locker room is that the boundaries remain flexible.
Then accuse her of systemic advantage, systemic racism. Sophie is the victim of the foul and the defendant in the narrative. That inversion only works if the media runs it for you. Enter Jamel Hill and Kari Champion. These are not the independent columnists who happen to land in the same place. They are best friends. They share a platform. They co-host. And within hours of Carrington bloodying Sophie Cunningham, both of them were on the line.
Carrington's history of aggressive play makes the need for clearer standards even more obvious. Allowing the narrative to settle on just a hard foul risks, inviting the next incident to be even less ambiguous. Marsh's dual claims of not seeing the replay and not seeing the post create a portrait of a coach who somehow navigated an entire game and its aftermath while missing the 2 most discussed elements of the night. That level of selective awareness is impressive in its consistency. It allows every difficult question to be deferred. The foul can be framed as a judgment call that looked different in real time. The social media post can be framed as something still under review. Meanwhile, the video continues to circulate and the post continues to exist in screenshots. The result was a hard fall and an ejection. Everything after that moment has been an exercise in narrative management. Calling it a play on the ball requires believing that Carrington's target was somehow the basketball even though her arm never came close to it. That belief demands a suspension of ordinary observation that most viewers are unwilling to grant.
Making the layup, DiJonai would have tried to make that play on anybody making a layup because that's what she's done throughout her career. So I just want to make it known. It wasn't.
Y'all know I love Andrea Carter and want to help her with a conversion, but I'm just sorry. She's an idiot here. She's lying here. She's protecting the cult, the LGBTQ crowd. She's part of that inner circle, part of that sisterhood. She's gay.
Fans who watch the sequence live or on replay have largely rejected the softer interpretation. The gap between what the video shows and what the coach described has become the real story. When a coach's public comments diverge so sharply from the available evidence, the audience fills in the blanks with its own conclusions, and those conclusions are rarely flattering. The suggestion that the contact was anything other than intentional losses force every time the clip is replayed. The arm path is too direct and the distance from the ball is too obvious for alternative explanations to hold. The white privilege post complicated the basketball conversation by injecting a racial framing into a play that officials treated as a rules violation rather than a cultural statement. Cunningham's response dismissed the racial angle and focused on the physical nature of the foul, noting that she herself had been ejected for similar contact in the past and accepted the punishment. That consistency stands in contrast to the idea that the call itself was somehow influenced by factors beyond contact and a provocative social media response. The default posture became minimization and delayed acknowledgement. That posture may protect the player in the short term, but it does little to protect the credibility of the competition. Viewers who invest time in the league notice when the language from the podium fails to match the action on the floor. The more often those mismatches occur, the harder it becomes to maintain the fiction that everything is being handled with appropriate seriousness. Carrington's ejection was the correct call on the merits. The contact was unnecessary and excessive against a player in a vulnerable position. The flagrant 2 designation reflected that reality rather than inventing it. Attempts to reframe the sequence as ordinary physical basketball require ignoring the most basic elements of what occurred. Yet, the video remains, the post remains, and the post-game comments remain as a record of how the moment was handled. Those who watched the play unfold saw an intentional foul that went well beyond contesting a shot. Those who listened to the subsequent explanations heard a different story entirely. The distance between those 2 versions is where the real commentary writes itself, and no amount of selective vision can close that gap. The arm around the neck was never a play on the ball. The flagrant 2 was the least the officials could do, and the claims of not having seen the relevant evidence only highlight how determined some voices were to avoid saying what everyone else could see clearly.